This is an exhausting topic. Based Russia. Is Russia based? Well, this is a thing that I've dealt with for quite a while. The claim from many right-wingers that Russia is some sort of right-wing utopia, that Russia's the savior of Western civilization, that things are going great in Russia. Now, on one end, I don't want to Kalmanize Russia here, and I don't want to pretend that Russia isn't doing some good things. Is Russia more socially conservative than, say, the US or Canada? Yeah, obviously, though I don't think that's a particularly high standard. And do I support the possibility of a war between the West and Russia? Obviously, I don't. I haven't supported any wars from the United States in the past several decades, and this is certainly not one I would. So I don't want this to be confused as me saying that Russia is just all terrible and there's nothing good going on in Russia, and that Russia is really just the same as America. That's not true. And I don't want this to be confused as me saying that I'm a warmonger and I want Russia to be invaded and I want NATO to occupy it like the Reddit map. But this is a matter of truth, and when I see this misinformation going around on the right for so long, I have to speak up. Now, one issue is that there's just a bunch of lies that go around, things that are just blatantly false. A year or two ago, there was a 4chan thread that said that Russia had banned abortion and some other things. It was based on some real news that was going on in Russia at the time, but the abortion part is just completely made up. Russia has not banned abortion, and during the entire time that Putin has been dictator of that country, there has been not even the slightest tightening of the laws around abortion. The only change that has occurred under Putin whatsoever around abortion is that hospitals are encouraged now to try to discourage abortion because of Russia's dismally low birth rate. And that's good. All else being equal, I'm glad that policy exists. It's better than that policy not existing. But this is hardly based. This is just Bill Clinton's safe, legal, and rare. The current abortion laws in Russia allow for elective abortions for the first 12 weeks of pregnancy. Now, I know to some Americans and Canadians that might actually sound kind of exciting, because in the US and Canada, generally abortion is allowed for the first 24 weeks. That is true, but in Europe, 12 weeks is pretty much the standard. The United States and Canada just have particularly radical abortion laws, which exist in very, very few countries outside of North America. France has elective abortions up to 12 weeks, and I'm assuming that no one's going to start celebrating France as some haven of pro-life sentiment. And abortion rates in Russia are some of the highest in the entire world. Now, it's hard to really get very accurate statistics on this. Often you'll see quoted 60% abortion rates, that is, 60% of all pregnancies ending in abortion. That was the case, but I believe abortion rates have gone down since then. Like I said, it's hard to really get very solid statistics. Now, again, I know some people would claim that this is cause for celebration, that abortion rates are going down. And yes, it is actually true. I'm glad that abortion rates in Russia are lower now than they were under the Soviet Union, or they were under the immediate post-Soviet period. That's a good thing. Just like, again, how Bill Clinton's safe, legal, and rare is better than the current shout your abortion. But just because it's better doesn't mean it's good, and it's certainly not based. Russia still, by whatever metrics you use, has higher abortion rates than the Western liberal countries. And by 2010, Russia still had, according to UN data, the highest abortion rate in the world, at least of any country that the UN keeps data for. Now, I know, I'm not a big fan of the UN. I'm not a huge UN truster, but I doubt there's some mass conspiracy in the UN to lie about Russian abortion statistics. And I want to be clear when I talk about Putin that when I say he's a dictator, I'm not saying that to condemn him or to judge him or anything. My point is, he is the ruler of the country. He has a great deal of power. If he wanted to tighten abortion laws, if that was something close to the top of his list, he could have. Now, I'm not saying even a dictator has unlimited power. Obviously, that's not the case. Obviously, there's practical considerations, and there are internal factions that could prevent things from happening. But my point is, he's been the dictator of Russia more or less for about 20 years now, and this clearly is not a priority for him. And really, I could just end the video here. The fact of how bad Russia's state with abortion is to this day, it should be enough to debunk any idea of based Russia. But there's more to go over. One thing that I know a lot of people believe is that there's been some sort of mass reawakening to Eastern Orthodoxy in Russia, and this is just completely made up. Well, I guess it's based on one fact, and that is that when communism initially ended in Russia, the majority of Russians didn't identify with any religion. Well, today, if you look at census data, the majority of Russians do now identify with Eastern Orthodoxy. And again, just like with the previous issue, that's good on the whole. I'd rather people identify with Eastern Orthodoxy than identify with nothing. And perhaps one day this will lead into some great religious revival in Russia, but it's not yet. We know this because Russia, to this day, has some of the lowest church attendance rates in the world. Pew data from 2016 says that Russia's church attendance is 6%. Now, okay, I know for both of these issues, what I'm going to hear is that, oh, this is all just because of communism. This is all just because Russians had this stuff forced on them by communism. And yeah, I mean, that's not totally wrong. But Russia's church attendance rates are worse than most of Eastern Europe. The Eastern Orthodox mean for church attendance in Eastern Europe is 10%. Ukraine has double the church attendance rates for Eastern Orthodox in Ukraine. Romania is 20%. And Catholics in Eastern Europe have an average church attendance rate of 25%. So Russia is pretty much at the bottom of the pack. There are a couple countries that are around the same spot where Russia is. But Russia's church attendance is catastrophically low. This is nothing based. This is terrible. This is worse than Canada. And as I said, Russia's church attendance is worse than most formerly communist countries. And again, for people who worship Putin and think Putin's just totally epic and based and is here to save Western civilization, has he done anything to try and fix this? Has he been trying to encourage church attendance? If he has, it's clearly been a pretty big failure. As I've previously mentioned, Russia has a very low birth rate. This is, of course, one thing that Putin has tried to improve, and again, like I've said, good on him, though not to a great deal of success. This isn't really a surprise, considering that increasing birth rates has been very difficult for many countries. But really what I think this reveals is that there has not been any sort of reordering of Russian society and turning back on stuff like feminism. If there was a real end to feminism, then I think we would see an increase in the birth rates, but that's just my editorializing. I can't prove that here. Russia also has a lower marriage rate than the United States and a higher divorce rate. And once again, I'm not saying that there aren't good things about Russia. I'm not trying to Kalmanize Russia. I'm not trying to say Russia's all bad. I'm not trying to say the West is great and Russia's terrible. There's many good things I could list about Russia. And certainly one of the top things is they're not the world engine of liberalism. Russia isn't the country that's trying to spread all of the disgusting, evil, liberal things throughout the world. Russia isn't trying to spread liberalism to Africa. And that's great. I'm glad. I'm not saying that Russia's totally evil. I'm not saying Russia's irredeemable. I'm not even saying there aren't certain things about Russia that are encouraging. All I am saying is that this myth spread on the right constantly that Russia is the center of some great right-wing backlash against liberalism is just completely made up. This is not true. And it annoys me principally because I hate to see these blatant falsehoods being spread, because this is just wrong. This is just made up. For my regular viewers, sorry for the very long absence since my last edited video. I am hoping to get back to doing those regularly. There's some videos that are more or less still in the works from the past that I have mentioned previously that I'm still planning on making. But I'm still really busy in my personal life, so honestly I can't really make any promises. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And for my donors, I've had to redo my donor list entirely, so if there's anything wrong here, please send me a message if you want me to change your name or if I'm forgetting something or whatever. But a special thanks to Fall of Seasons Lament, The Phantom, Ambrose, Cringewalker, Lewis, and Convert. And thanks to all my other donors.